Breaking news in the NFL. The NFL is suspending Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair 3 games for his hit on Trevor Lawrence. And it is amazing to me. 1, 3 games is a really good suspension. I'm surprised it's 3 games. I thought it would be 1. It was amazing to me how many people tried to defend this hit. And thankfully, the avalanche of that was one of the dirtiest hits anybody's ever seen came through. Yeah. And I think this right here is exactly what needs to happen. The NFL is suspending Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair for 3 games for his hit on Trevor Lawrence, which produced a traumatic brain injury. We saw the frozen arms.
Yep.
The whole 9 yards. And it is the exact hit that we're trying to get out of football in this country. And this is, I think it'd be different if this was Al-Shaair's first time, or it does not matter to me that he apologized. And I thought it was a really good apology. He apologized on Twitter, acknowledged that the hit was a bad hit. But this is the same guy that throat punched Tom Brady. This is the same guy that has 6 personal fouls in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, look at what he said in the apology.
6 personal fouls in the last 2 seasons for late hits out of bounds.
Yeah.
Not 2 or 4, 6 for late hits out of bounds. This guy's a dirty player, and I think 3 games is critically speaking, I think is an unbelievable suspension.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great number. And I think in the apology, the thing that really stood out to me about his apology was he essentially owns the fact that that's how he plays the game. And I feel like people miss this part. In the apology, he talks about, hey, my intent when I play football is to go out and hit you as hard as I can and then pray that you're not injured. That's what he's talking about in his apology. And it struck me that this guy is basically playing the angle of, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to drop people and I'm going to hit people as hard as I can. And I'm going to, I'm basically going to play, really tough football, really violent football. And then I'm going to be the good guy after someone gets hurt, and I'm going to pray for your family, and I'm going to do that.
But what did he do before he issued that apology? After the hit on Trevor Lawrence, he incited a brawl. He threw his helmet, ripped off his helmet, threw it, got into a fight that essentially turned into a bench clearing brawl. You got into it with fans as you were walking off the field. Mm-hmm. It's everything that's wrong with that play and that guy. I think this suspension is as much about, because that hit is horrendous. It is the worst of the worst. It is absolutely the worst of the worst. And not only did you make that hit, you started a brawl that put players at risk. Then you got into it with fans walking off the field. It's a bad look for the NFL. And I think that that's why he got 3 games. Mm-hmm. The hit on its own was not a 3-game suspension, in my opinion. The hit on its own was not a 3-game suspension. It's everything that occurred after that. It is the fact that you were grabbing people's face masks and the highlight happens to be playing in the background. It is the fact that you grab somebody's face mask to pull them down to the ground. The violence in this thing is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it goes without saying, like, you can't blame the Jags players for doing what they did. You have to defend your quarterback, and I do agree with the take, though, that quarterbacks in the league, you need to be a little more cautious. I don't love that we criticize dudes like Patrick Mahomes or the best guys in the league, the elites of the elite, for going down early. Go down early. Avoid this, man. Like, just as a human being, I don't want anybody in the NFL to, like, the Tua concussions, like the like, to your point, the frozen arm thing, like I don't want to see any more of those hits than we need to see. But part of that is, like, hey, like let's be overly cautious. Like I'm not blaming Trevor, but what I am saying is if you're a quarterback in this league, you know what guys are capable of. You know for a fact there are dudes in this league that are coming for you. Like get down earlier, live to fight another day. That's what if I was in an NFL organization, if I was a head coach, a coordinator, that'd be my message to my quarterback. We need you. Get like I don't care if you're a yard short of a fourth down. We need you. Like go down. It's fine.
Yeah, it's wild. So Azeez Al-Shaair has been suspended 3 games. More Adam Schefter tweets. Adam Schefter saying, as a factor in his 3-game suspension, the NFL noted that Al-Shaair has multiple offenses for personal fouls and sportsmanship-related rules violations in recent seasons. Here's a statement from NFL President of Football Operations, John Runyon, saying, quote, during the game against the Jaguars, you were involved in a play that the league considers unacceptable and serious violations of player rules. Video shows you striking the head and neck area of Jags quarterback Trevor Lawrence after he clearly goes down in a feet-first slide. You led with your forearm and the helmet and delivered a forceful blow. After the illegal hit, you proceeded to engage in a brawl, which you escalated when you pulled an opponent down to the ground by his face mask. John, are you listening to the show? After the referee announced that you were disqualified for the hit in your unsportsmanlike acts, you removed your helmet and re-engaged with the opponent while walking down and across the field, which started another physical confrontation near the end zone. Your lack of sportsmanship and respect for the game of football and all those who play, coach, and enjoy watching it is troubling and does not reflect the core values of the NFL. Your continued disregard for NFL playing rules puts the health and safety for both you and your opponent in jeopardy and will not be tolerated.
Yeah, see, I just think the NFL, when the NFL puts out statements like that with that kind of verbiage, the NFL is sending a clear message that they are aggressively, watchdogging this stuff.
That's one of the most, aggressive is the word.
Yeah,
that's one of the most aggressive statements I think that we have ever seen.
I mean, when the NFL has guys like that making statements like that, where they're talking about, hey, like your disregard for safety doesn't represent the beliefs and the culture of the league. Like that's how the NFL is really like, over, like they're trying to put an end to this.
The NFL got this right.
Yeah.
And I think they deserve one of the other things real quick before we move on. And I don't disagree with this either from Boyd Lake. There's a lot of big elbow braces out there. And that's why there's some talk about rules and NFL funding of smaller technology related to elbow, because Al-Shaair wears he has an elbow dislocation issue. So he wears a pretty significant brace on that elbow. So I think that's a really good point. But one of the other things I think is really important here, I would stop teaching quarterbacks to slide. Rex Ryan did a really thoughtful take on this on ESPN. And I was chatting with a former NFL player about this, who was saying that when a quarterback slides, it is really difficult for a player to pull up. They teach you how to do that, how to pull up. But if you're an NFL quarterback and you're an NFL coach, teach your quarterbacks to dive headfirst at the feet of the defensive player. Because then it's about a 3-yard buffer. If you're running headfirst into an NFL safety or linebacker, about 3 yards when you're at that gap, dive at his feet and he cannot hit you. I think it's an excellent point. The biomechanics of humans do not allow you to A, hit that quarterback, and B, your fight or flight reflex will make you avoid him. I think it's a really good point. You've got to stop baseball sliding. And it's what they teach in the NFL. And I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge mistake. All right. Hour number 2 of the Monty Show is always presented by the Advocates. Let's get back into the college football playoff conversation. Let's get your thoughts on the NFL suspending Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair 3 games for his hit on Trevor Lawrence. After this from the Advocates.
Hi, Sarah. Your dad told me about your accident. Can you tell me how it happened?
Still kind of going through it, but I was stopped at a light, and then this car I heard it come up behind me, and bam, and it's kind of like in slow motion.